Right now, the all-important U.S. Senate race in Texas. This week, we're taking a look at some of the issues facing the candidates, from Ken Paxton not taking questions about topics coming up in the campaign to James Talarico's effort to address concerns in the black community. I'm Jack Fink. Get your fix for Texas politics. Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas starts now. Good morning and welcome to Eye on Politics. Hope you're having a great weekend, and we're going to begin with the Texas Senate race, where Republican Ken Paxton made headlines last week when he wouldn't answer questions about recent reports and issues that have emerged in the campaign against Democrat James Talerico. It happened in Fort Worth Tuesday during a news conference he held to announce that 24 Texas sheriffs had endorsed his campaign. When Paxton opened the news conference up to questions for the room of reporters, I started to ask him about a New York Times report that said he had increased the number of properties he owned to 15, worth $9 million. He declined to answer. A reporter for the Dallas Morning News then asked Paxton about a Texas Tribune ProPublica report that said he voted 6 times in a Collin County location based off an address at which he no longer lived. The reporting came after his office released guidance in February that, quote, it is illegal to misrepresent your residence on election records. Paxton declined to answer. Here's how it played out in real time during the news conference.
We're going to do a couple of questions. Jack, do you want to go first?
General, I wanted to give you a chance to respond to State Representative Talarico and his campaign. They've made a lot about the reports that have come out. One in the New York Times about you acquiring properties worth $9 million.
So, Jack, can we keep this to law enforcement today?
Well, I'm giving you the opportunity to answer the question.
I'd like to, we're here with the sheriffs, I'd like to keep today to law enforcement. So
that's what I'm going to answer, questions about law enforcement.
Okay.
Gromer, did you want to go?
Will you answer a question about why you voted in Collin County? Clear that up.
So we're just going to do questions on law enforcement today because we're joined with 22 amazing law enforcement officers.
If you guys don't have any, that's fine. I can move on.
No, we can ask questions about this. You went through a whole list of problems that you had with Talerico, and what is your main takeaway for voters who are undecided? Right now, the polls are neck and neck. So what is your main message to the voters? Maybe some are undecided. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that there's a clear difference between the two of us. I've supported law enforcement. I've supported giving them the resources that they need, protecting them from political attacks, which there have been many over the last decade. And he's done everything to take that away. He's tried to take away funding. He's supported efforts with his own money to defund the police in Austin. His voting record is abysmal as it relates to law enforcement and protecting our communities. He's done everything he can to hurt the safety of our communities. I've done everything I can to make sure that our communities are safer.
I have a question.
We're going to get out of here. Thank you, guys.
I have a question.
Yeah, we're going to get out of here. Thank you.
Can we not have more than one person answer a question?
What's your question?
We heard from Talarico today. He's campaigning on He's campaigning on unaffordable child care. You're talking about public safety. What should that say to voters? Is public safety the priority over that other issue? Do you have comments on that?
I say they're both important. Just because we focus on public safety doesn't mean we don't care about other issues.
Perfect. Thank you.
I've requested an interview with him, and I asked his campaign if they had a statement or answers to the questions we asked. As of early Friday afternoon, we did not hear back. This comes after Talarico challenged Paxton to 3 televised debates. While Paxton's campaign has said he wants to debate, the 2 campaigns are still negotiating. In response, the Talarico campaign issued a statement that read in part, quote, if Ken Paxton can't answer these simple questions, what is he planning to do in a debate? It's not the first time the Attorney General hasn't wanted to answer questions about allegations surrounding him. Back in February 2022, before the Republican primary and the Attorney General's race, we traveled to Far East Texas to ask Paxton about criticism from his three opponents. At the time, the Attorney General was under investigation by the FBI after his top hand-picked lieutenants in his office went to the agency alleging potential bribery and other crimes against him. How do you respond to your Republican challengers who openly criticize your ethics and integrity?
Let me just say we're going to keep this to the topic at hand. I'm not going to talk about my campaign. I'm not going to talk about campaign issues. Literally, this is part of my job. This is an important issue for the state of Texas.
Then in May 2023, after a Texas House committee recommended Paxton be impeached, the Attorney General held a news conference at his office at the Texas Capitol. He read a statement, but before reporters could ask him any questions, he walked out.
Are you going to answer questions, General Paxton? General Paxton.
Paxton was acquitted and cleared of any wrongdoing in a trial held by the Texas Senate. The Biden administration ultimately dropped its FBI investigation without filing any charges against Paxton.
So today I'm going to ask you guys questions.
While Ken Paxton has previously answered a limited number of campaign-related questions at his events, he does not sit for extensive interviews with local reporters, only conservative media. We have requested interviews with him multiple times but have not been granted one. I asked SMU political science professor Matthew Wilson about Paxton and whether last week's news conference could impact his campaign.
I don't think that particular incident in and of itself hurts him a lot politically, but clearly there will be pressure going forward for him and for his campaign to speak to some of these issues surrounding his voting residents, surrounding his property acquisitions. He'll have to provide a response. I understand him not wanting to get into a back and forth about that at an event that he wanted to be tightly focused and scripted about law enforcement. But that said, we know that voters have some ethics concerns surrounding Attorney General Paxton, and that he'll have to speak to those questions at some point.
He has a history of not sitting down with local reporters. He goes on conservative media a lot, but to sit down and have an extensive interview with local reporters is not something that he has done. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, at some point, do you think he is going to have to do that?
Yeah, I think the lesson that he has drawn from his previous campaigns is that he can largely avoid doing that. That is, he's run multiple times statewide and prevailed in both primaries and general elections since the ethical cloud started to surround him. And he looks back and says, look, I didn't have to get into the weeds of these issues with either local or national reporters in these previous campaigns. I still prevailed. And so I think that's the playbook that he will largely try to stick to. Because I think that Ken Paxton realizes that people's perceptions of his ethics are largely baked in at this point. So I think he will largely continue to try to avoid that and to focus, frankly, much more attention on James Talarico than on rebutting even new ethics charges against him.
Could that strategy, though, impact him in this race against Democrat James Talerico, which is neck and neck when you look at all of the independent polling out there?
This is the strongest challenge that he has faced. And so it is possible that a strategy that has availed him in the past could see him come up just short this time. That would be the worry. That would be the concern. And in fact, most of the polling shows him running 5 or 6 points behind other statewide Republican candidates. So he certainly is in a real race.
He has been challenged by the Talerico campaign to do 3 televised debates. And his campaign advisor wrote very publicly that, yes, the Attorney General does want to have a debate with Talerico. And so do you think that this is going to happen?
Well, I would be surprised, frankly, if we get 3 debates. I think the bigger question is, do we get at least 1 debate?
And what do you think about that?
I think a lot depends on where Paxton feels like his campaign stands come Labor Day. Does he feel like he's got a small but reliable lead? Or does he feel like he truly is in serious danger of losing this race? Does he feel like he's a little bit behind? If he feels like he's a little bit behind, it probably increases his willingness to debate.
Coming up, Democrat James Talarico answered reporters' questions on a variety of topics while here in North Texas and across the state, and they include some tough issues. An Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas comes right back. Welcome back to Eye on Politics. We continue our talk about the Texas Senate race, this November's marquee political contest here in the Lone Star State. Democrat James Talarico continues to campaign across the state, holding rallies and town halls and taking reporters' questions on various topics. They include issues he and his campaign have had to deal with in a very public way. Last Tuesday, Talarico toured a child care facility in Fort Worth, where he unveiled his proposal for guaranteed universal affordable early childhood education and to expand the child tax credit, among others. He also held a town hall meeting in DeSoto Monday night. But his town hall in Houston on Sunday made headlines and gained attention online and on social media, as Talarico faced some criticism in the black community that he's not doing enough to earn their votes. Black Texans are a key constituency for Democrats. In response to the concerns, Talarico pledged to spend $25 million to communicate with their community and to get out their votes, but not before some tense moments.
You stay here, you answer our questions, or you suffer the consequences.
So I'm happy to engage. We'll come to here in just a second. I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate you traveling in. And I appreciate you.
I did it for my people, not for you.
Wonderful. And that's wonderful.
Before that exchange with Talarico, other elected Democrats from Houston spoke on his behalf. They too acknowledged the concerns of black voters.
Now, I'm not here to hide James from accountability, because the road to victory runs through Harris County, but you're not going to win statewide without the black vote, and we know that. And James knows that too. And if he don't know, but he do know, he gonna learn today.
But State Representative Lauren Ashley Simmons of Houston, who initially supported Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett for U.S. Senate, urged supporters to get ready for November and rally behind Talarico now.
We have a pathway to victory. We have a community to fight for, and we have people who need us. James is the top of our ticket, and I want him to win.
Crockett endorsed Talarico the morning after the primary, but she is not actively campaigning for him. Talarico rallied supporters in Houston and acknowledged that he needs to do more to stay in contact with elected leaders who call him.
But I have to say that the amount of incoming has been a lot, and I am doing my best to make sure that I'm returning calls as fast as possible.
I asked Talarico about the issue at his campaign stop in Fort Worth. So I wanted to ask you about the concerns in the black community that you've heard about in Houston on Sunday night, that you're not doing enough to gain their support. And so this, I know, has been percolating under the surface for a couple months now. We saw it come out in full view publicly on Sunday. And so I'm wondering, why is this still an issue, do you think?
Well, there is no way to win Texas without black Texans. If we're going to do that effectively, we have to show up for, invest in, and listen to black communities. And that's what we've been doing over the course of this campaign. We have been convening black business leaders, black faith leaders, black elected officials all over this state, in the big metro areas and in the smaller towns. I've been visiting black-owned businesses and black churches all over Texas. I've been appearing on black media here in DFW and Houston, and national black media. And then we've been holding these town hall discussions, including in Houston on Sunday and in DeSoto yesterday. We are polling better with black Texans than any Democrat in modern Texas history. And so we need to continue that progress.
Talarico told reporters Monday night what his $25 million pledge will look like.
You're going to see paid advertisements directed toward black voters.
You're going to see organizing, folks showing up at the doorsteps, folks showing up at community events, registering voters, speaking to voters, listening to voters.
He said part of his strategy to win is to keep returning to Tarrant County, the state's and nation's largest Republican county.
But Tarrant County is the biggest swing county in the state of Texas, and it is a must-win for me and my campaign. So you're going to be seeing us in Fort Worth and in Tarrant County a lot.
I interviewed Democrat Jane Hope Hamilton, who served as the Texas statewide director for President Joe Biden's 2020 campaign, about Talarico's campaign.
It is a dead heat. And what we see in Texas is that most times the Republican has to sort of be fired, right? You have this group of people who are unaligned, like they're not necessarily Republican and maybe that not necessarily Democrat, but they tend to default when they get into those voting booths to Republican, unless there's a reason not to. And I think what we're seeing is the beginnings of the holdout as it pertains to Paxton. And so what Talarico has to do is all of the things that he has to do to mobilize the base voters, right? That's Black voters.
We saw on Sunday, in a very public way, a town hall in which Talarico was having in the Black community in Houston. And one woman, came out and demanded that he stay and answer for more questions because I guess staff had said, one more question. And she wasn't happy with that and let him have it. Now, it was one person, but there was tension in that room the whole night. What's going on here?
We have to really look at this holistically. What is happening with Black Americans right now in this country, right? Which is, we've had a surge since November 2025, 8% in the unemployment rate. We see that home ownership amongst Black Americans is down. It's fallen in the first quarter of 2025 to 43%. Community development financial institutions, CDFIs, have been severely gutted and defunded. That is where Black entrepreneurs go to gain capital because traditionally we don't receive that capital investment from banks, let's say, or traditional lenders. And so there's a pain right now in the African American community. There's a lot of angst right now. There's also a situation where at the National Democratic Party level, there's a lot of dissatisfaction. So when you have all of these layers and you're Talarico and you're running, that means that you gotta show up, and he is showing up. He's gotta keep showing up. He's gotta listen. He has to demonstrate that he understands what is on the line for Black Texans. We're starting to see that there's improvement there. I think it was a rough start in the beginning, but we are starting to see that the campaign is beginning to understand how important this all is.
Polls have showed that he told me, he is higher in the polls among African Americans than any Democrat running statewide has been. More so than
Beto. More so than Colin.
Right.
That's right.
But you're saying it's not just that because of the margins.
That's right. That's right.
So can you explain that?
Absolutely. So what we have to remember is this, is that, a regular turnout model, let's say in Dallas County, for example, right? We need to hit in Dallas County, we need to be in the high 60s. That means that African Americans who might not normally get out, right, who we need to make up that 13% of the total vote, we gotta push that number. You have to maximize and get as many people as you can in terms of numbers to come out and vote, and then you have to do everything else.
We're just about in August, which means there will be another 3 months of campaigning before the all-important midterm election. We're going to take a break. Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas. We'll be right back. The U.S. House passed a bill placing new limits on members of Congress trading stocks, but Democrats are criticizing the legislation for not going far enough. Sarah Jenkins now with the brief.
The bill, titled Stop Insider Trading Act, passed 232 to 198 this week, with all Republicans voting in favor as well as 13 Democrats. Among them were Texas Democrat Representatives Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez. The legislation would bar members of Congress, their spouses, and dependent children from buying individual stocks and would require advanced public disclosure of stock sales and would impose financial penalties for violations. The bill was introduced by Wisconsin Republican Brian Steele and co-sponsored by Texas Republicans Chip Roy, Dan Crenshaw, Keith Self, and Jake Elsey. All Texas Republicans backed the measure. Many Democrats opposed the bill, arguing it should require lawmakers to divest existing stock holdings and extend the ban to the president and senior administration officials. North Texas Democrats Mark Vesey, Jasmine Crockett, and Julie Johnson voted against the legislation. For The Brief, I'm Sarah Jenkins.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Tomorrow, Republican State Representative Shelley Luther will host a large rally in Sherman featuring the state's biggest names in politics. Luther is calling it the Red River Roll Call, and Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick are featured along with other statewide candidates and members of Congress. It will take place at 7:30 p.m. at the Sherman Municipal Building. And don't forget, you can watch our complete interviews from today's show on our CBS Texas YouTube page, and while you're there, go to the Eye on Politics playlist and hit the subscribe button. And that's all for Eye on Politics today. I'm Jack Fink. I am listening, and we are listening to you at CBS News Texas. Thank you so much for watching, and from all of us here, have a great Sunday.